Hey, this is Luke with Salt Strong. In this video, we're going to talk about shrimp lures on how to choose the right size as well as how to choose the right color to help maximize your results. I've been doing a lot of testing on shrimp lures these past few years, both on size and color and different brands. And what I found overall is that the darting style shrimp lures that don't have a lot of vibration in the water, those actually seem to have the higher overall catch size. It seems like these type of lures that look real in the water, have good motion, and don't have a ton of vibration, it seems like these help fool the bigger fish relative to louder lures that, yes, they can certainly do well, and they of course can do better in some situations, but it seems like overall, once I started using these shrimp lures more frequently, my average catch size has gone up. So that has been the biggest surprise that I've had so far, and that's why I personally use shrimp lures much more frequently than I used to, and that's why I recommend them much more frequently than I used to as well. They just flat out have been proven to work. So let's talk about size first. We can drop the other color. As far as the size, so here are the two that I've been using most frequently lately. One is 3.5 inches, right? This is the Power Prawn USA Junior on the bottom, the original Power Prawn USA on the top. The Junior is 3.5 inches. The top one is 4.3. So very different sizes, right? One is much bulkier than the other. What I was expecting is I was expecting them to totally outshine one another throughout the seasons. And so another surprise I had is that both sizes seem to actually work very well throughout the seasons, right? It's obviously based on conditions. When I like shrimp lures most, like these darting style shrimp lures most, is if the water is calm and or clear. If it's windy and murky, that's when the paddle tails of high vibration lure will work better. But when the water is calm or clear, and especially calm and clear, that's when these type of lures really shine, and that's when they can significantly outperform everything else. But as for seasons, I like both during each season. What I found as far as size selection is that in the wintertime, I will usually gravitate toward the smaller lure. But the times when I did pull out the bigger one, it did great as well, and the overall catch size would go up with the bigger one, of course, right? Because the smaller fish literally can't even eat it. So using like fishing docks with the smaller one, I'm now catching way more fish because it opens up the door for the mangrove snapper, even sheep's head, and obviously smaller trout and smaller snook and smaller reds. Whereas you throw the big one in there, and you know, a lot of those smaller fish just automatically get weeded out. As far as the bigger fish, I've caught more big fish on the big one, but I've caught plenty of overslot, snook, and even redfish on the small one as well. So just know that even the small one will work great for the big fish, and then even the big one will work throughout the seasons. What I like to do is I like to have both. Different areas have shrimp runs at different times, and you basically want to just try to figure out what the hatch is. So in general, wintertime, I'll default to the small one, but I'll pull the big one out as needed. In the fall, when usually the bait is biggest, I'll usually start with the biggest and then go small. But overall, I always have both. And if I need to bail myself out of a tough day when the bite's really tough, this little small one on a jig head bouncing around dock pilings or around mangroves or around like rock jetties, this just flat out will catch fish. Whatever's in the area will eat this. So this is my bailout of a tough trip type of lure, where it's the Power Prawn USA Junior, rigged on a jig head. It catches everything. We recently did a podcast down in the Keys, crystal clear water. I was using this setup and just bouncing it throughout the water column and caught a whole ton of fish, a variety of different species. It was one after the other. Really impressive how effective, again, darting lures like this that look realistic can absolutely get the job done. Also, in the wintertime, I've been skipping this under docks, skipping under mangroves, and it has done a tremendous job at getting snook and redfish. So a lot of my size selection too is the application, right? So if I'm skipping up under docks or under mangroves, I like the bigger lure. I like this Power Prawn Original on the weighted Haas hook because it just has a bigger bulk, a bigger size. It has a much better skip, and it gets way up underneath there. And again, it seems to weed out the smaller fish like puffers and small snapper, and it just casts further, right? So the shallow water, I generally like this, like on the weighted hook. But then as far as dock fishing, when I'm going after max quantity, that's when the Power Prawn USA Junior is the obvious choice, right? So skipping up under mangroves for the bigger fish, the big one, and then dock fishing for just max quantity, or again, bouncing on the bottom near rocks, inlets, jetties. If you want to just maximize your amount of fish caught, this smaller one is tough to beat. So I'm curious to get your thoughts, right? As far as size, if you've seen one size outperform the other, please let us know down below, and let us know the region you're in as well, because I think it is going to be region dependent on the actual shrimp runs. As far as just Central Florida on both coasts, that's where I've tried both sizes, and they seem to have worked really throughout the seasons, which was a surprise. I was expecting one to really outshine the other. So that's it for size. Let's talk about color now. So we have a couple different colors in our Power Prawn USAs. We have the Slam Shady, which is white with some gold and silver specks in there, and then we have the original, which is basically designed to mimic the actual color pattern of a shrimp. It has a little bit of gold flash as well. And so what I found with color is that this natural one seems to do best when the water's really clear, right? When those fish are picky, they're going to be really analyzing it and want to make sure that that it looks as realistic as possible. It seems like that is when this color has outperformed the Slam Shady. When the Slam Shady has seemed to outperform the natural is when the water is darker or when there's less light. So night fishing, I've had multiple nights when I'm throwing this and they're not hitting it, and then I'll just switch to the Slam Shady, and for whatever reason, they just all of a sudden start striking. I think this lighted color just is very different, right? It just helps it stick out, helps them find it. Same for murky water, right? This lure is going to stick out more than the natural, and when the water's tough for the fish to see. So if the water's murky or it's churned up, it seems like the Slam Shady has the edge. When the water's calm and clear, that's when the natural has the edge. And again, just like the different sizes, I still make a point to keep both color patterns in my tackle bag so that I'm ready for whichever condition arises. And just like the size, please do let us know your feedback on color as well. If you've seen one color outperform the other, and then we're not talking about just these Power Prawn USAs, it can be any other brand as well. Curious about your favorite color for shrimp lures. And the one thing that has been the most important thing to do as far as getting strikes and maximizing results has been depth control. So what trumps the size, what trumps the color, is the depth control. So crucial, if you're fishing the shallows, have it rigged for the shallows, right? Have it rigged on a weighted hook so that the lure is not just totally banging the shallow bottom and spooking fish. And then conversely, if you're fishing the deeper water, right, anything more than 2.5, 3 feet, you're going to need a jig head. Most of the feeding is going to happen on the bottom. And so having a jig head help get that lure down to the bottom is going to significantly increase the amount of fish you catch. If you're using a weedless setup over 4 or 5 feet of water, and that just takes a really long time to get down the bottom, especially if there's current, it's going to have an extremely tough time to get down the bottom. This is going to struggle, whereas this is going to just totally slay them. So as long as you get that rigging right, that is what I found is to be the most important. Definitely more important than color, and also more important than the size is that depth control. And so if you're like most anglers and you really don't use a lot of shrimp lures, highly recommend changing that. Again, they've been working great. And to make it easier for you, we have a bundle. We have a new bundle for these Power Prawn USAs, so that with just one click, you can get everything you need to succeed. You're gonna have both colors, right? Both colors of both sizes. You're gonna have all the rigging items you need. We have weighted hooks designed for these bigger Power Prawns, as well as weighted hooks designed for the smaller ones. These are the Haas hooks. They were specifically designed for these lures, for shallow water shrimp lures that's weedless, that also skips well. These are amazing. These are by far the best shrimp lures that I've ever used in shallow water, so make sure to try some out. And again, right, if you're fishing clear water, we have you covered. If you're fishing darker water, we have you covered as well. Both colors, both sizes, both hooks. And for deeper water, we have you covered as well. For both sizes, we have jig heads. These are made by Z-Man. These are awesome. They have this flat head on there so that when you do bounce it on the bottom, that tail sticks up. It helps just wave at those fish and gets attention. Again, has great action in the water, and this just flat out works. So if you want to give this bundle a try, it has 24 different lures. As I mentioned before, we have a bunch of different lures of different sizes. They come in these clamshells, so they're all nice and straight and have the best action possible. We also have the rigging you need, right? The weighted hooks for the shallows for both sizes, as well as jig heads for the deeper water, both sizes. And last but certainly not least is we have battle rattles. These are the battle rattles. They can be inserted into the shrimp. And best of all, on top of the fact that it's just one click to get everything you need, you're also going to save 10% on the bundle, right? 10% across the board as a thanks for just going ahead and getting all these items. We know they work. We know you're going to catch a ton of fish. We know that you're going to be sending us some cool pictures of some great fish that you're catching with these lures. So we'd love to have you take advantage of this special. And if you're an insider member, just like always, you still get 20% off. So you're going to get 20% off of the discounted rate. So huge savings. Make sure to pick these puppies up. These have been an absolute blast to fish with, and we know you're gonna love them as well. So any questions at all, leave a comment down below. Otherwise, click down below, add them to your cart, and we'll get them sent to you right away. Can't wait to see some awesome fish you catch with these great lures.